This whole street here, and I'll show you in a minute, but this is a prime example of just everything I absolutely hate about corporate America and just the way that businesses that large businesses market themselves and things like that. I just absolutely hate it. It's inescapable now because just everywhere you go in the US, everything just kind of looks the same because it's all the same dozen or so corporations that are on every corner. And I tell you, it's really frustrating to see. And I remember when I was younger going to college for architecture, and unfortunately I couldn't get through and become an architect, but part of the reason was because I hated modern architecture. And I wanted to design something that was like way better than that. And I had a talent for drawing up blueprints and things like that. I used to do that for fun when I was younger, but just stuff like the math kills you. And then like you just don't want to go through all the office politics and stuff like that. And like all the stuff that you have to go through to become an architect. And like I would have had to have gone to a way better college, way more expensive college, and just I guess I just wasn't prepared to do that. But this is what I'm talking about right here, like this shoebox. And that's exactly what this architecture is. It's a big box with just like with just like they just put stucco on it and white brick, and just it's the cheapest looking thing I've ever seen in my life. Like it does just look like a it just looks like a shoebox with logos painted all over it. And man, it's so ugly. I don't know anybody who wants to go to a place like this on purpose. And the only thing I can think of is that they want to change like fast food architecture like that to make it look more sort of I guess more oh, what's the word for it? To make it look more like streamlined, of course, but more sort of like a place you go to and leave faster than before, I guess. I don't know. I think they're trying to take that whole idea of fast food and make it a literal thing where they're making the buildings look as cheap and ugly as the food itself. And this is what it looked like before, traditional Arby's. And not the prettiest building, like certainly not, but not the worst looking either. I've I like the lines and things like that of it, but I always like the original Arby's. Like I'll try and find one. They used to be designed to look a little bit like a covered wagon, and like kind of like that. Like I really like this one. I wish they'd make the new ones look like that. Um, but here's another example right here with the cool looking tables out front. I love this big window in the front. That is so nice. Like I love stuff like this. Like why can't we bring this back? This is so awesome. And I'm like at least a lot of the signs are still around. But here's a bunch of them. But see what I mean? It had this look to it. And originally this would have been like an outdoor seating area. Like I would love to see that in Arby's again, just a nice outdoor seating area. But like look at this. This is such a cool piece of architecture, and there's some of them still around. And here's another one right here. Not an Arby's anymore, obviously, but the building's still pretty original, and I just love this. Like this is so cool looking. Here's a more sort of I guess I don't know what you call this more sort of boxy one, but that roof is just awesome. And these big enameled shingles on the roof, that these things like never go bad. Like they'll look good forever. But even the '90s ones that look like this with the big cathedral window, I really like this look. Like that looks so like doesn't this so much look so much nicer than this? It looks more grand, and to me it looks so much better. Like, I don't know why they switched from this look to something else. If anything, they should go back to their original look. But like, I just look at this and this is so cool. Like, I love the look of it. But it's always nice to see the signs. But anyway, we will continue on the crap tour. I mean, typical suburban American area. I mean, let's be real. Suburban America is not the most exciting thing. But you can see older style Wendy's here. Now, I like this style with the copper roof because I feel like it's a good bridge between sort of new and old. Like, whereas originally they had the yellow roof. And I don't know, maybe that looks a little dated to a lot of people now and they don't like it, but I like this one. But like anything, they can't leave it the same. They had to do like another big box. It looks like, I don't know, it reminds me of some place intended for just little kids, like a daycare or something. Like this is the kind of architecture you see on like children's hospitals and children's museums and anything sort of just like it's this ugly boxy architecture that's on everything. And of course, no natural materials, everything's fake. You don't have any brick on here, just this little bit right here. Metal cladding here, metal cladding, minimalist landscaping, no hedges or anything like that. Like this looked so much better to me. Like I don't know when architecture took this turn towards crap, and I know it happened once in the 60s where you just saw a lot of those big boxy office buildings built that just are just the ugliest thing imaginable in cities now. I mean, I should say were. Like this is a totally different restaurant, but this is another sort of thing with just buildings in the US in general. Nobody builds anything in such a way that like nobody wants to reuse buildings. They all just want to completely tear down, clean slate, and just build from the ground up. Like there's no reason for them to reuse whatever was there before and expand it or renovate it or anything like that. It's almost always torn down to ground level and just rebuilt from the ground up. It's like they don't want any sort of like history back to what might have been there before. And that's another issue with suburbia really in commercial areas is they will just tear stuff down and build a new one. And like this one's not the worst building I've seen. I don't Again, it's a big box, which is just really ugly, like objectively ugly. And you ask most people if they like this, and they won't say they like this. And they'll say the same about older style fast food places. But then again, it depends on the place. I mean, people really like the old style McDonald's. But this one I don't think is as bad because this kind of looks like wood clapboard in a way, so it kind of at least gives a little bit of like there's some traditional in this, and the colors are a bit warmer and a bit more sort of like I guess toned down than Wendy's over here. But you still got this here. I would take this off and just make the rest of it clabbered. And I don't know. I really like the mansard roofs that used to be on everything. And I hate the fact that you don't see those anymore and they're just ripping them off everything. And I remember the Dunkin' Donuts by here used to have one with wood shingles on it, and I always really liked it. But it was kind of like a throwback to when colonial stuff was big back in the day. This was just a gas station. This was wasn't always a Taco Bell. But Taco Bell's another one where I really like their original buildings because it looked like it was like a modern twist on Mexican architecture, and I really like that. Like whereas this doesn't look like anything. This is another box with logos all over it. Like it's another shoe box. It's it's a very unattractive building, I think. But It's not the worst thing in the world. Like this, there's at least this fake stone here, which gives a bit of an earthy look. But just this looks like crap to me. And I know what this is supposed to be, and I hate it. I absolutely hate it. Very pretty tree here. I couldn't have my view blocked by a more beautiful tree than that. But landscaping's nice. Lots of trees. That's about the only thing they've gotten right in some places is they plant a lot of trees out here, though. I wouldn't plant this many trees all together in one spot. You really want like um like one tree here and then just one. Unless I don't know, these might be smaller species, so they might be all right to be planted in large groups. But a lot of people make this mistake where they'll plant a lot of trees next to each other and like they'll be like maples or something like that. And then they get absolutely huge and they're just too close together and they end up not being as strong because of that. And this whole like you'll see the grass all disappear because there's too much shade because just it's just too dense. But here's another one here where I just like, man, I hate modern McDonald's. I absolutely hate it. I think they were trying to go for like almost like a diner, like they wanted to do a diner, but like a modern sort of twist, like mid-century modern mixed with like diner architecture. But it's you like all the decorative parts that make a diner attractive are just completely missing from this, and it's it again, it looks very cheap. You've got this stucco here all over everything. You've got these hard edges where like I don't even know what this is. This could be stucco, this could be metal. You've got this up here which is gonna look like crap over time. Like you've got this stuff here because everybody wants like they call it industrial, but this isn't industrial. This is like there's got to be a new word for this type of architecture, like 2020s modern or something like that. Like modern architecture is garbage. The majority of people you talk to will not like modern architecture. And to this day, I just don't see the appeal of it. There's no warmth, there's nothing about it that's inviting. And not only that, but McDonald's is really a place you take your kids, or at least that's what it used to be. And they've taken away all the like cartoon characters and stuff from McDonald's, which was like that's another thing that's very sad to see because again, McDonald's was originally just a place, or at least it was when I was growing up, a place to take your kids to. I mean, this is not high quality food. This is not what you want to be going out and eating on a regular basis. And I like my McDonald's. I'll go and have a double cheeseburger there and a milkshake and I love it. I think it tastes great. But I don't eat there every day. It's just once in a while thing. And when I eat it, I usually regret it afterwards. So again, I don't see the appeal of it. And especially like this thing, I don't know what this is about. This is it's such a strange thing to put in the middle of all this because if you hack this out and just got rid of these things and like if I keep going on, it's gonna turn into a traditional style McDonald's with a mansard and stuff. So I'll just stop myself there. But oh wow, that's weird. It's still saying there's a Pizza Hut here. I'll show you what was here in a sec. But it's just like yeah, people buy cheap food because it's cheap and it tastes good, and I'm not gonna fault anyone for eating at McDonald's because I used to eat at McDonald's a lot. I still do every so often, but it's not a healthy place to eat. And just like I said, the building is absolutely ugly. The only redeeming feature is the brick, I think, and that's it. It would look a lot better if they took this out, but like looking at it, if you ignore the yellow stuff. It just looks like a fitness center or something like that. I wonder if they're trying to trick people like come to McDonald's, we have healthy stuff here. But it just looks like a fitness center. Like if you took all the McDonald's logos off and the yellow stuff, It would literally just look like a fitness center. Oh my gosh, that's so weird. Like even the McDonald's font doesn't look like McDonald's font. It just looks like regular generic metal sign font. Like it's weird how they took McDonald's, which the buildings used to have a lot of character, and they just distilled it down to this just generic like it looks like a strip mall. It just looks like a really cheap strip mall. It does I don't look at that and think McDonald's immediately. I just think strip mall. Whereas people recognize the mansard roof and the fry lights and stuff, and you immediately know, yeah, that's a McDonald's. But I'll show you what was here before because this was not this way before. And I don't know, have you guys been to one of these yet with the three different windows in it? I've been to they have one near here, and let me tell you, it is confusing as heck to order stuff. And last time I went, it was like pay here, and then while traffic was stopped, they handed me my milkshake through this window, and then I got my food from this one, and it seemed very strange to me. Like that doesn't seem efficient. Like that's something I don't understand again, among other things. But look at this one section here. Tell like if you just saw this section, what do you think this is? Is this a fast food restaurant? Ignore the fact that this is a drive-through window and there's cars waiting in the drive-through and there's this little McDonald's thing here. Would you know that this is a fast food restaurant? Because I sure as heck would not. This just looks like a an office building, like just a small office building. It's very ugly, and everything's sort of borrowing from that office building look. And I was over a relative's house and talking to his girlfriend, and they just bought a house in the city somewhere. And I remember they like she was saying like she was going over how she wanted to renovate her house because I was over there helping them paint. And like she wants to take out the colonial style like railings in the house and put in modern style ones. And I just thought that was so strange because the house as it is does not have a great deal of warmth or coziness to it. It's a very cold house with very little detail, and it's got like the worst things kind of put together. It's got very high ceilings, white walls, everything's sort of very plain and modern, and there's such a coldness to it, and I guess I just don't see the appeal of that, but that's like it's like the fad now. And it was literally like I remember her telling me that she didn't want the colonial railings because they were the same ones that were in her mom's house or something like that. Which it's like that with a lot of kids, and it used to be, you know, you were rebellious for a little bit where you're just doing stuff to spite your parents, but it's like that's being continued now into adulthood. It's very strange. But yeah, I never liked this sort of architecture, and I was very upset when they remodeled all the McDonald's in my area to look like this, because all the ones in my area used to be different. Heck, there was one that was modeled to look like a diner. Then there was one that was like that had all this like movie memorabilia and like Blues Brothers stuff in it, and like they were all different and they were really cool. Like, because each one was slightly different. I mean, one of them had like a pink Cadillac in it, which I thought was amazing. But they all look the same now. They're all this big ugly box. And you can blame McDonald's corporate for that. They forced everybody to do these remodels. And it used to be that you'd go to them and they'd usually have a little bit of touch of the owner in them if they were a franchise. Like you'd go to one and it'd be painted in the original colors. You'd go to another and it'd be painted more sort of beige and stuff like that because that's what the owner decided they wanted to paint it and stuff like that. And they just completely changed that. Now they're all just boxes like this. And it's kind of like with cars. Like, see how just boring all of these cars look? It's the same with everything. They're distilling everything down to just like appliances. And people need a kind of like human touch to stuff, and none of like this looks like it was built by robots. Like, and I was about to say the cars look like they were built by robots, but they literally were. So that would be a silly thing to say. But I'll show you what this all looked like before. There used to be a Pizza Hut here, and this is going back a few years. You can see traditional style McDonald's with the mansard roof and the French fry lights, and heck, a big playground for the kids. You don't see that at McDonald's anymore. I think all the parents started taking their kids to Chick-fil-A because I noticed that Chick-fil-A's all have playgrounds now. But yeah, that's gone. And the one by my house had a playground that's gone now. The one with the Blues Brothers stuff had an amazing playground. I mean, it was awesome. It was huge. And part of the tunnel system for the playground went outside of the enclosure that it was in. And so you could go in there and be above the parking lot. I mean, it was the coolest thing. I absolutely loved it. And I don't know, maybe I'll see if I can find old um street view of that before they remodeled, because it was a pretty recent remodel. And I know after they remodeled, somebody I knew who used to work there was telling me that people would always ask what happened to the Blues Brothers statues and stuff, because everyone really liked that, but no, corporate told them they had to get rid of all that. So back to back to just being a box. But as you can see, this isn't a particularly impressive McDonald's. It's a very plain one, and it's already got a bit of that modern look to it. But you have a bunch of different McDonald's styles that were built over the years, and it was interesting to see all the different ones. But they all look the same now. So, and as you can see, Pizza Hut over here. And they did what they always do with old Pizza Huts, where they remove the whole roof thing. And I guess because it's so iconic of Pizza Hut, but Pizza Hut's another one where they've been remodeled. They were, at least the ones that are still open, they remodeled, but I think are thinking too heavy about trying to update their location. Like, their pizza really needs work. Like, that's the problem. That's why nobody's going to Pizza Hut anymore. But even like, they got rid of their red roof, which that used to be their sort of their it was in their logo, the big red roof. And so them changing that is kind of jarring. Like, I don't know why they went that way. They also used to have these windows where the sides were angled like this, and you can't see it because they hid it behind shutters. But I always liked that part of Pizza Hut. And you'd actually go inside, and the curtains were actually trimmed to fit those windows. So they had these metal blinds in the windows that actually fit the polygonal windows, and it was, I always thought that was so neat as a kid. And like, before you go and say, oh, you just hate change or whatever, and it's like, I don't hate change at all. Like, I like positive change. I don't, I dislike negative change. Like, like when taxes go up, people would say that's negative change. And like I said, there's negative and positive. But let's see if I can find Newark McDonald's. They did this too, which, it's better than removing the top, but man, it's freaking ugly. It's so ugly. And all of the stuff in the picture here, it all looks like it's been built by robots. Like, these buildings look like they were built by robots. This does. Like, it's very ugly. I don't even think this is in America. I don't think any of the American ones kept their mansard roofs. I think that's just just an overseas thing. I noticed some of the ones in I think it's Japan or England. I forget which one. They still look like this. Let's see, Newark, Delaware. Everyone's favorite college town with absolutely awful police department. Let's see if I can search this. Oh wait, I saw something interesting. Oh, that's cool. I love these style McDonald's with the fake grills in the windows and stuff. It almost has a Tudor look to it. I love that. I think that's so cool. But oh yeah, it was the first McDonald's in Delaware too. Interesting bit of fact. Interesting fact there. It also, I I'm trying to remember, like, there was a fire here in the 70s, and I think a few people died in that fire. Like it was a pretty bad thing. And I think that it was still the original building, like the building wasn't damaged beyond repair, but there's it in the 60s. Really like the 60s style one. The 70s style one too, I love. And most people look at this and think, "Man, that is ugly. Why do you like that?" And I don't know. I guess I'm just have a strange taste in buildings. And this here is the big playground. Like, look at that. That the playground was huge on this place. Like this whole area was all the playground. And I think it was outside at one point, and then they built this structure around it. But this was not a like well insulated structure. So they had these big heaters in here, which were probably expensive as heck to run in the winter time. But these windows were all just plastic, like they were thick plastic, and you could open these ones at the bottom to get a little ventilation. But this is all a very sort of thin building that they put around this. And they tore this down to ground level and built a completely new one, and the new one is absolutely heinous. Like, I hate it so much. Like, this is what the new one looks like. It's just like the other really ugly style McDonald's. Like, even the stonework, they picked the ugliest shade of stone that just looks like concrete. But it's like even stonework, like stone's not cool anymore. Like for some reason, the thing that's in style now is to have this really lightly colored, just crappy looking stone that just looks fake. I mean, it's not even like form stone that they had in the 40s and in the 30s and 40s, where there was an artisan out there actually molding everything so that it looked good and then putting their own little touch. It literally is just this cheap stone made of concrete, and if you look close to it, usually they do a really terrible job on it. But I'm gonna try to find this on Google Maps because this is an absolute just sort of travesty. Rock and roll McDonald's, rock and roll McDonald's. I don't know if you've ever heard that song, but it's a funny song to listen to. These trees are nice along here, but those were not planted by McDonald's. That's Newark. Here we go. This is the original one, and even from just being a less sort of obnoxious building, I mean, it's a smaller building. It's just overall, it's less offensive to look at. It doesn't offend the eyes like the new one does, and like I always thought this is a nice looking building myself. And I don't know why they painted the roof red at one point. It used to just be brown shingles, but they painted the whole thing red. And this used to be an outdoor playground, but they built this around it, which is why this fence is here. Wonder if there's still, nah, no pictures of the original colors, but you can see the like jarring change from then to now. Like, look at that, man. You got this sort of fun, cool looking building, that dates back to the 70s, to big stainless steel blocks. And it's another one where the only saving grace is the brickwork. Like, that's the only thing that really looks decent on this building is the brickwork. Like, everything else looks like crap. And you can disagree with me if you want, but that's my opinion. And they do these signs that are just a big box with an M in it. And in case you're wondering, I hate that too. Oh, and I'll show you this too while we're here. Oh, this awful, awful mural that they had the students paint. Like, ugh. Oh man, that is so bad. I don't know who, like, I wish somebody would come and paint graffiti over this. It's just like, look at the cars. Look at the look at the wheel on this Mustang. And the front end, it looks like it was drawn by like a middle school student, like this mural. Like, man, this is awful. It is absolutely just disgusting to look at. And just the the perspective. This person is the same size as these people, and just there's no shading on anything, and like, my lord, this is bad. This is so, so bad. And this guy over here, this guy's my favorite. Like, I don't know. It's probably the least disgusting part of the mural. Like, I think you could probably take this and put it into a better mural, and it would look all right. But look at this dude with oh man, what's that called? They painted over a concrete wall that had concrete cancer on it. Like all these cracks with uh with this white stuff coming out of it. That's concrete cancer, and that means that this concrete is like just being broken apart because water's soaking into it and just completely ruining it. I forget why that is. I read why that was a thing a while back, but I don't remember now. And you probably don't want me explaining concrete cancer to you anyway. But even this up here, like, this does not look good. This looks all right on this side, but they did a good job with the making the colors like doing the rainbow sort of colors. But every other part of this, man, this is the worst mural I've ever seen. One of the worst murals I've ever seen in my life. It is just absolutely offensive to look at. And just another thing is this house right here. I remember it looking cooler back in the day, but you see how it used to look where it had some color in it? And they capped this up here, which I don't know why, unless there was bad water damage in this stonework. Oh, here's a better shot of it. See what I mean though? The top of this had a this is all craftsman style, but it's kind of wrong for the area. Like, this is definitely more of a Midwest and sort of Southwest style architecture, but I still like it. It's a nice looking house. I just don't think it was, it's not like when you build architecture in an area, it should draw from that area in terms of what it looks like. Um, preferably from the history and the local architecture. But I don't like how people want to take the color out of everything, and I just don't get it. Like, I think this would look better with some orange in it, like before. But you can see they capped this, and I'm assuming it was a drainage thing, or the stonework had gotten watered and cracked. But did they keep the bushes? I'm surprised they kept the bushes, to be honest. Usually that's the first thing to go when people buy a new house in this area, are the bushes. Like, everybody wants their sort of clean, modern, like, gardens, and they see it on HGTV, so they want to do it to their house. Another one right here. I know this is about fast food restaurants. Why am I looking at houses now? But this used to have a nice looking roof on it. It was like brown tile. It's like, if you get a house with a slate or a tile roof, do everything you can to keep it. Do not replace that, because those roofs will last for an infinite period of time. This is another building I really like right here. I like these big what's that called? These big gables. They're just decorative, really, but I think they look nice. Mid 60s house right here. I actually think mid 60s architecture and late 60s, like when Colonial made a comeback because people realized how much they hated mid-century modern. When Colonial made a comeback, and they started building these types of houses, I always thought they were nice looking houses. Like, this one looks like something out of Leave It to Beaver. Like, that little town, whatever it was called. I didn't watch that show much, so forgive me for not knowing the name of the town. I was trying to find, you can see there's little stones in the brick here. This was not painted originally. I don't know why in the world you would ever paint brick, but for some reason they did, and I mean, it'll probably look all right once the paint starts peeling off and it's got that kind of weathered look, but Right now, man, that's just too much white. Still has the original windows though, which is nice. Like these windows here with the storm windows, they're actually more energy efficient than the double glazed vinyl windows because there's a bigger air pocket in between the windows here than there is on the new vinyl windows. And not only that, but you'll get these windows have an infinite lifespan, unlike vinyl windows, which will will have to be replaced every 30 years because the seal breaks and air gets in between and they get all fogged up. And not only that, but they get out of shape and they become very difficult to open and close and to pop out and clean and things like that. I always hated vinyl windows so much. And you got this little arch here, which I think is kind of cool. Like that's stuff that they started doing in the 30s and 40s when they were building houses like this, making the cottage style homes. And I'll show you, let's see, there's a couple more fast food restaurants that they kind of ruined up here. This is just, oh, here's a nice looking place. I love this shopping center. Very, very lovely shopping center. It's a very strange combination of things though, because you've got American colonial architecture, and then almost every place here is a foreign food grocery store or restaurant, like Korean. I think this is Thai or yeah, this is Thai food, halal grocery. Um, there's a lot of international students that go to the college by here. So there's a lot of international restaurants and like places like this with you can get your halal food and whatever. There used to be a place called Movie King in here, and I've never been nostalgic for Blockbuster because we used to be a member of the Movie King that was right here, and there was like two or three locations. Actually, no, there was at least three that I remember. And I remember the one here was I don't know. I had relatives who worked here, but this is the one we went to after the one by my house closed. But this location, like Movie King in a whole had a much better selection of movies than Blockbuster, much lower prices, and like a lot less BS. Like even the people who like Blockbuster will tell you how annoying some of the rules were there. But they used to have this deal here, which was 5 movies, 5 days, $5 for their VHS movies. And yeah, this is back in the day when VHS was still the main video format, but like you could get 5 movies for a week and for $5, and I saw so many old movies that way that I never would have seen otherwise. But the Blockbuster near my house had a horrible selection of movies. There was just nothing there, like nothing interesting, nothing I looked at and really wanted to watch. But like Movie King had a great selection. They just had a limited number of new releases that they had, and that was their main problem and why they ended up going out of business. But like Blockbuster helped put them out of business in the area, so I don't really have much sort of empathy or love for Blockbuster for that reason. And just memories of not being able to find anything, and like even if they had a lot of movies there, like if you're Gen Z, you probably this is probably all foreign to you, but yeah, there was a point in time when you couldn't stream stuff and you had to go and buy it on hard format. But this is another place that this Arby's used to be something else. According to a friend of mine, this was a Long John Silver's back in the day, and that's why it's such a strange looking building. But I always like this building from the outside. This roof is kind of ugly here, but that's really the only thing I really disliked about it. This place had a fireplace in it. It had a TV, like a big screen TV. It had the oldest big screen TV I've ever seen. It was one of those rear projection TVs, and it actually had wood on the side, which I'd never seen. But I remember it was so broken towards the end before they finally replaced it that like only the red would show up on the screen. Like it looked terrible. You could hear sound all right, but the TV itself was just in such bad condition. But they've since remodeled this, and like they did the sin of all sins in my eyes and painted all this brick white. And this got torn down this section here, and so it's just a flat wall now. And it's remodeled in the same style the other one. And of course, they tore down the little greenhouse that all these fast food restaurants used to have back in the day, and that's just an extension on the building now. And this is still here for some reason in the middle of it, and it looks pretty bad. Like it looks great here at where it's like the end of the wall, because this gives you a good hard corner here, and then you have this, so it kind of looks like it was built in stages, and it gives that kind of look of just a kind of rambling building that's been there for a while. But like they could have put in windows with more sort of with more character on them, but other than that, like everything else I liked about this building. And the inside had like it had different levels. Like there were seating areas on different levels with a bunch of booths and things like that, and these big heavy wooden beams in between them and stuff. And it was really cool looking, but they got rid of all that, and it's just a big room now with like a sign that says Arby's. And of course, all the ones where they have drive-throughs, they still don't have the lobby open on. So even though it's been remodeled and you can look in and see that it's done, you still can't eat inside this place. And I always like this too on the side with the roof on it. I don't know, it makes it look more residential and more cozy and warm and stuff like that. And I just overall like the look a lot better. Now this T111, this was definitely at the end of its lifespan. A lot of sections were rotten, but everything else about this looked all right. And this was a Taco Bell here. Now again, big college town, so this Taco Bell got a lot of business back in the day. I think they were just too far outside of downtown, and they closed after the whole oh, that scare where people were getting sick from the lettuce. You can see though, it was an original Taco Bell from probably the 70s, and it was just like a modernized Mexican style building. And it had a really nice look to it. Like it had that classic Taco Bell look, and you even had the alcove up here with the bell in it. That they sealed it up later on, but they had that for a while. The roof was nice on this building though. I love these tile roofs. And of course, you got the Pizza Hut next to it, where they got rid of the ridge on it because that wasn't cool anymore. But nice old school Pizza Hut with the big red roof. I love I love Pizza Hut back in the day, but man, they really went downhill over the years. Last time I got pizza there, it tasted like cardboard. Like they're just whoever's running that company is doing an awful job of it. Like they've totally just ruined it. Here you go. Picture where it's still actually a Taco Bell. I didn't know that it still was in 2007. I thought by then it had already closed. But you can see it's got the original 70s, 80s Taco Bell sign. And again, I love it. I love these old Taco Bell signs. And there's not a Taco Bell you can go to anymore that still looks like this. At least I don't think there is. And I don't know what their thought was behind the remodel of this building, but I mean, I guess they don't want it to look like a Taco Bell, which makes sense, but I don't know. The remodel really leaves a lot to be desired. It's very plain Jane and just kind of ugly. Like I don't know. This looks really crappy up here now that they tried to just make it into a regular colonial style roof. This was a nice ice cream place. I was disappointed when they didn't open up the year. Like they were open for a year and then they closed. And that was really disappointing because they had good ice cream here. And you can see, you know, it's already been closed for a while in this picture. More sort of ugly, just modern, bright, obnoxious, in your face, like remodel. Like it's another thing where I like it before. It looked a lot more woodsy. There was a humbleness to it, really. Like I don't know, it just had a nice sort of look to it, and used to be a lot of trees around it, but they got rid of that over the years. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I wanted to talk about here. There's other stuff in this area, but not really not really anything particularly interesting or that I do in this video just because. But I'll just do one more thing, and I'll show you what this used to look like. Maybe not. I guess the windmill was already gone by the time these pictures were taken. There used to be this area is called Red Mill, and this is Red Mill Shopping Center, and they used to have a big windmill up here, like a big wooden windmill with like it would spin in the wind, and I was disappointed when they got rid of that. I always thought that was a really cool feature, but everything's getting to where it's just so much more plain and corporate and just the same as everywhere else. Like everybody for some reason wants everything to look sort of clean and minimalist and just they're remodeling everything to look like that. It's just I hate it so much. I hate it. It's as some just as somebody who's always been interested in architecture, like it's the saddest thing I've ever seen. It's like if somebody went around with a board like if you've ever seen The Holy Grail by Monty Python, like those monks that would walk around in just the brown robes with boards hitting themselves in the face, it's kind of like that, just that sort of self-flagellation and self-punishment. Like we shouldn't be proud of our history and stuff. We're just gonna get rid of anything that has any vaguely historical or design oriented and we're going to make everything just boxes, just empty boxes because America doesn't have a culture and we can't we can't we got to get rid of anything that sort of proves that America has a culture. Like any aspect of it, like it's all got to look like it's all got to look like Berlin, or it's got to look like not even the kind of crazy architecture like Japan where they just build everything on top of each other because there's no space. It's just all these just boxes with no sort of no personality to them. Like everything's like that, everything, and it's like there's nothing to sort of look at and just sort of just be a feast for the eyes. It all looks the same. Like these two buildings are just a few colors apart. Like it's almost the same color scheme, and like you look at this and it's just gray. Like everything's gray. These used to be made to look kind of like a Pennsylvania style barn with like wood siding on them and stonework and stuff, and now it's just all white, man. All of it. Like everything. And it's like they're like this land is all for sale right now, and I'm sure they'll demolish all this and just build one sort of uniform looking shopping center here instead of all these like different buildings built at different times. Like this used to be a motel and they turned it into their fish center. And then you've got this like farmhouse back here with like that's a barn farmhouse or barn. Yeah, that's the farmhouse there. Like you've got all this nice stuff that was built over time and there's history to it and things like that. But like you see, I'm pretty sure this was like a blacksmith shop in the day. Like that's the only way I can account for this location and the chimneys on it and things like that. For the fires that would be inside for the blacksmith forge. But you got this wonderful historical barn here and this old farmhouse, like this big sturdy brick. Ooh, that is cool. I don't remember those things. But like you got this beautiful farmhouse here with these big trees around it, and these houses aren't, these aren't exactly the height of sort of style, but they have their own sort of charm to them. They just re-roofed this one, so I don't know if they're gonna tear that down or not. But you're like, there used to be a bunch of small businesses here. Now it's just home remodelers that are down here. Like, see, this is all just home remodeling stuff now. There used to be like a little individually owned there's a framing shop in the middle. Then this was all carpet here. Like a boxing studio here, and just everything you see anywhere you go, it's all just turning into this sort of just like I guess this is more local here, but you're seeing a lot of the small businesses really go away, and just everything's just looking more and more the same. I guess Popeyes hasn't gotten there yet. Like, that's still decent looking. But I'm sure they will. I'm sure they'll decide that, oh, we want to do the same thing everyone else does and make our restaurant into a box. I don't remember it ever looking like that. Man, that was a long time ago. It looked like this. I even forgot there was a post office building here that turned into a fitness club. But they tore that down to build the Wawa. I don't know. It's interesting seeing it again because I forgot that was even there. It had this big arch on it, like a lot of post offices did in the 70s. I don't even remember when this stopped being a post office. It was so long ago. But I'm gonna stop my complaining about stuff and just end the video. Just if you like something, and don't be like one of those people that's like, I saw this on HGTV, I gotta remodel my house to look like that and stuff like that. Like, if I could give one bit of advice for design, try to look for something historical or traditional in your area and base your design around that. Because architecture should be localized. It should be something where, everything's designed for the climate and the culture of the area. It shouldn't be something where you see the same buildings everywhere. And it shouldn't be something where everything looks the same. Everything should look a little different. Like, there's nothing more sort of damaging to the human soul than seeing something without a human touch to it. And it's not even really about making something that's, less, like, more natural looking, Frank Lloyd Wright back in the day wanted to make his houses blend in with nature. It wasn't even like, well, I want to take the ornamentation out because I want to make it more natural. It's literally just, I want to design a big metal box that just doesn't look doesn't look at home anywhere. And just, like, that's just the way things are going. It's been that way for a while, for the last 10 years or so. And before that, you had the really, like, you had McMansion architecture where people wanted to, I mean, you still have that, but people wanted to make their house look like a big French chateau, but they didn't want to put any money into it, so it was all done with really cheap materials. And if you look at the back was really ugly. But I am gonna end the video because it's been almost an hour, and my throat's hurting, and I am I am getting tired. So I hope you guys can go out and design something beautiful, or live in a beautiful house, and just not some ugly box with stucco all over it.